Having not properly exited the game last time, Arisu regains consciousness and is questioned about what he experienced. He couldn't remember anything about that land. Professor Ryuji tried to ask him if he remembered what he dreamed about while he was unconscious. The answer is still no. When Arisu woke up, he couldn't remember anything. Ryuji insisted that he must have just returned from that dreamland. Many people even saw fireworks after surviving that game. A former research genius has gone back to researching the afterlife. This topic made Arisu's interrogators feel that the professor was crazy. He was probably influenced by the fact that one of his students passed away while researching this topic. After coming to pick up Arisu, Ryuji still tried to remind him to see if he could remember anything about that other world, because the afterlife theme is what Ryuji has worked hard to research for a long time. When he arrived at the lobby, Arisu's wife was already waiting for him here, as she was also questioned about her unconsciousness. Ryuji gave her his business card and said he would contact her if needed after returning from the mysterious land. Both Arisu and his wife could not remember anything. It all felt like a long dream. After returning, Ryuji tried to record what he gathered from the interview. Everyone who had the same dream talked about a near-death experience, and finally, they all played the same game until the next morning. To further verify his information, Ryuji went to meet a woman he met online. He sat down with her for a drink and talked about the conference people often mention. Seeing Ryuji's interest in that conference, the woman confirmed that in order to go there, everyone would be able to play a game. So, until a week later, after registering, Ryuji received a letter accepting his participation in that seminar. The venue was held on Tuesday, October 13th at the Saikoto office, according to the address sent. Ryuji began to follow each instruction that took him to the conference room, just like in the past when Arisu and his friends were transported to the afterlife. Here, everyone is asked to sit at a round table by the organizers. In particular, once he sat down on the chair, he was not allowed to get out of it, so Ryuji had no choice but to sit in the prepared chair. The organizer said that only by winning this game can people learn about the near-death experience they want. The game is called Joker's Potluck. No matter how many pairs each player owns in a deck, they must put them all down. In particular, there is only one Joker piece on this table. Anyone who takes it will be electrocuted on the spot. Leaving the chair would result in a similar fate. It turned out that electrified weapons had been placed underneath the chairs. People are required to follow the rules to get the experience they need. So for a while, each person's cards were taken away. Because they ran out of cards, when someone took the Joker, they were immediately stunned and unable to react, until only Ryuji had 2 cards and a young man had 1 card. Ryuji takes advantage of the other person's psychology, holding up the Joker card as if it's a card he doesn't need. The man saw Ryuji's reaction and thought he was scared, but unexpectedly, he fell into the trap and ended up being seriously electrocuted. Only Ryuji remains alive and meets the true inhabitants of the Borderland. Like every day, Arisu and his wife both have their own jobs at their company. However, today was a bit more special for Arisu, as he met a customer he once met in the Borderland. At first, he didn't remember her, until Rizuna said the two had met and known each other before. She was certain that Arisu had had a near-death experience, but Arisu's wife over here didn't know why she saw a hotel area that looks extremely familiar. She went there alone and began to remember what happened in the past, bodies lying everywhere. Meanwhile, Rizuna tried to ask Arisu about the Borderland. Before she could tell him how to get back there, she was interrupted again, even though he didn't understand what was going on. But when Arisu returned home, he couldn't contact his wife. He even went to her father's house, but couldn't find anyone. Arisu's only option was to report the case to the police. As a result, he received information that his wife had gone to a resort hotel with the professor who interviewed him last time. It is possible that his wife is missing because they know each other. The police believe this case is more like adultery. Arisu doesn't believe his wife will betray him. He immediately went to the research center to ask about Professor Ryuji's whereabouts. As a result, it was also impossible to contact him. All he knows is that the professor is someone who is extremely obsessed with researching that mysterious world. Even his wife's records and video recordings were found in the professor's office. Arisu opened them and discovered that in that recording, the professor repeatedly asked his wife about a mysterious dream. On the way home, passing through a subway line, a voice from the opposite side made Arisu stand still for a moment. This person is a resident who, thanks to Arisu, became a citizen of the other world. He approached Arisu, giving him a card, the Joker. He told him that if he returned to that world, he would definitely remember everything that had happened. After saying that, he disappeared, very mysteriously, leaving only Arisu with countless doubts in his mind. At the same time, the police called, informing him that his wife was unconscious along with that professor. The police suspected that the fact that both of them had no heartbeat might mean his wife was drugged, as the police said. The two people lay there unconscious without any heartbeat. The police recently took Arisu aside for questioning about the recent group incidents. They suspected that perhaps the professor wanted to seduce his wife, but his wife Usagi was not in a psychological state where she would do that. Previously, Arisu told the police about these mass incidents, but they didn't listen, so now they have to endure the husband's anger when he hears that his wife is unconscious there. The police could only apologize because there was no real evidence and they couldn't do much. Looking at the evidence collected by the police, Arisu discovered that inside there was a face card identical to the one he was given by the stranger. He said, "Your beloved will also participate in that game." Remembering what Professor Ryuji said about a faraway place, Arisu decided to meet the woman who approached him and said that they had known each other. Then he told her about his wife being in a coma and unconscious. "Someone gave me this card. You also said that I fought somewhere and returned to this world alive." Arisu suspects his wife has been taken there. He said as long as Rizuna helps him, he will do anything to bring his wife back. She told Arisu he only had 2 minutes to save his wife. For those 2 minutes, he would be in another world. The time there seemed endless, so he didn't have to worry. But in this real world, if he doesn't save his wife within 2 minutes, they will both surely die. Even if Arisu has to die, he must save his wife. He decided to try it the way Rizuna described, by using a drug that can cause the heart to stop beating immediately. He didn't know if it would be effective, but Arisu didn't have many options left. He chose to immediately inject the heart-stopping medication into his body. When the drugs were injected into his body, Rizuna no longer appeared before him. Outside, not a single person appeared. But Arisu only saw a sign indicating to go 15 kilometers south-southeast. The game would start at sunset. This desolate scene seemed to make Arisu feel extremely familiar. After walking for a while, the dream began repeating again. After arriving at the game venue, Arisu was surprised and didn't know what game they were planning to organize, until a voice rang out announcing that everyone was currently in the card drawing game area. The rules of the game are extremely simple. Each person will have to draw a hexagram to see if that hexagram is bad or auspicious. The time limit is 1 minute. Each hexagram has an accompanying puzzle. People don't know if this is a festival or not. They just need to pay attention to the saying, "Survive to the end." They don't know if they'll all die tomorrow. The first person to draw was a drug addict. The first hexagram he drew was unexpectedly the luckiest hexagram, great luck. Everything goes smoothly without any difficulty. Arisu is sure nothing will happen with this hexagram. The next person's hexagram corresponds to the number 21. It is an auspicious card with many good things. Below is a problem that needs to be answered. Everyone came down to watch, and the time started counting down. Some people think the result is 18, another says 15. Each person has their own opinion, and this woman decided to choose the number 18. The answer is wrong. As a result, the deviation of 15 from the correct answer by 3 units, equivalent to 3 meters, caused someone to be held in place. Some people ran away out of fear, but they were immediately executed, because once you step here, you can't go back. Now people have also begun to realize the danger. The next person who stood up to answer his hexagram also guessed the wrong number. The number was off by 55, causing the incoming number of rockets to also be 55. Countless people were killed on the spot. Only those who could escape managed to avoid a horrific death. Every time a player comes up to draw a hexagram and solve the problem, the number of errors increases. As a result, everyone realized that just by drawing, someone would definitely die. Besides, they are all bad cards. The current drawing area is almost completely burned out. Everyone fell into panic, because if they didn't do anything, they would be burned to death. Those horrifying scenes made Arisu remember everything in this world from the last time. This place was the place he had once set foot in and escaped from. The 9th hexagram is also an extremely difficult hexagram, with a question, how many liters of blood are needed to make 1 liter of cow's milk? An extremely unpredictable question makes the person drawing the hexagram confused. She replied 2, but the answer was 450 liters of blood for 1 liter of milk. The number 448 appeared, making the sky seem like it's raining rockets. The number of survivors from the first game decreased by 2/3. The last hexagram is also the hexagram that decides the fate of everyone here. Who would have thought that when Arisu stepped forward to draw the hexagram, the question would be to determine the world's population? The question makes everyone extremely scared, because if they guess wrong, the error could mean hundreds of millions of arrows. Everyone commented that the world population a few years ago was 7.8 billion, and every year it increases by 80 million. Because of the limited time, Arisu couldn't think much and answered 7.9 billion people. The number is completely wrong by 100 million. The correct answer is 8 billion people. An announcement seemed to fall straight into every player's head. How can one escape from the endless rain of arrows? 100 million arrows? Having 100 million rockets is impossible. However, the sky began to turn red. Arisu saw the dangerous situation and started to run out of ideas. There must be some way out based on the game's rules. After thinking for a while, he remembered that the Great Buddha was located in the northwest. There was a possibility of an escape route there, but when he got there, it was just a dead end. Arisu continued to think some more. He remembered that the way up here was a big flight of stairs. He rocked back and forth, noticing that the tile floor was shaking under his feet. There must be a secret room down here to help everyone escape. Just then, a rocket storm began in the sky. Everyone successfully found the only emergency exit and escaped inside. It can be said that 100 million rockets were enough to turn this temple into ruins. The others weren't sure what was happening and were now all going to a safe room. When everyone gathered together in that secret room, a message appeared below congratulating them on passing the game. It seemed like they could rest, but after walking for a while, a notification to move to the next game location appeared in front of Arisu again. He told everyone in this place that it was impossible to avoid it. And then, an extremely majestic scene appeared in front of Arisu and everyone. The Joker card was flying with the wind. It is a card that invites everyone to this mysterious game world. They have all been here at least once. They went to a large supermarket. People began gathering supplies and sharing their stories with each other. Everyone was sure they had been in this dangerous world at least once. The next morning, the uncle greeted Arisu and was extremely grateful to know that he returned to this world because of his wife. But finding a wife in an open world meant the odds were extremely low. It was already evening when they arrived at the next meeting point. This time, Arisu and his group were informed that the game they were about to participate in was called Infection. Each person will be dealt 7 cards. Then, each person will choose someone to play cards with. Whichever side plays a card of a higher value of the same suit will take a card from the opponent's pile. But here, there are 3 special cards. The first is the zombie card. Each area has only 1 card, equivalent to 4 areas with only 4 zombie cards. No matter how high the opponent's score is, just being infected by this card is enough to eliminate the infected person. To fight against the zombie card, every player will have a special shotgun card to deal with it. The shotgun card will disappear after 1 use. Finally, there is a vaccine card. If a player uses this card on someone with the zombie card, they will be cured and not eliminated. After 20 rounds, if anyone runs out of cards, they will die. When the rules of the game were announced, each person came forward to take their cards. To preserve their lives, Arisu's group suggested that they should play together to avoid other groups from infecting them, as well as preserving the number of cards each side has. But things are not so simple. Before the next round, the players in the other group saw Arisu's group and kept asking for card matches to earn more cards. Everything still happened very normally in the first few turns. Arisu, in order to find his wife, located the map of this game area. After a while of exploration, he saw a woman who looked quite similar to his wife Usagi. But when she turned around, it turned out to be just a player who looked like his wife. For the next matches, he didn't forget to ask the other players if they had seen a woman with the same body shape as his wife. They said, this place is like a tournament. The player who is eliminated continuously doesn't know whether his wife is still alive or not, which is important the first few rounds. But gradually, people also realized that the number of people who owned zombie cards was increasing. Arisu discovered 2 people who owned that card. He brought the group back to think about how to prevent the spread and find someone with the vaccine card. However, these thoughts were commented on by a girl with short hair who was not part of the group. She said that right now, everyone is forming a group to control the number of zombies. Then, they pledge to treat everyone if the person with the vaccine card is found. As for those who have recently been infected, we will ask them who infected them. From there, use the shotgun card to eliminate the original infector. Doing so will scare the other zombies away from Arisu's group. This is called building a trust barrier. It directly narrows the area and controls the zombie cards. However, how many vaccine cards there are is also an unanswered question. The idea of creating this trust barrier had some effect. So people started spreading propaganda to attack the psychology of the infected. Solidarity will definitely eliminate the hordes of people carrying zombie cards and stop the spread. The plan went quite smoothly. The number of infected people is also gradually controlled and the first spreader has been found. The oval-haired Ikeno, in order to maintain everyone's order, signaled Uncle Kyuza. He said that as long as he used the shotgun card to take out the person who spread it, he would be given first priority for the vaccine, complying with the rules set forth by the trust circle. Uncle Kyuza came to play cards with the other man. As expected, he revealed the zombie card. Immediately,
Uncle used the shotgun card, and that man was eliminated. The uncle's face did not change at all, and then he returned to his base. From now on, the oval-haired guy Ikino wants everyone to unite together. Listening to him, they went to get information from other zombies, and just like that, used a shotgun card on one. This round will end quickly if it keeps going like this. Gradually, some players were controlled by Ikino's group. Those with the zombie card are determined not to let themselves be oppressed, so they decided to find normal people and turn them into zombies like them. The next victim is the young man Masato. Seeing the zombie card made him immediately sweat. The fact that more and more people were being eliminated made Arisu wonder. The other zombies won't leave it alone, but now it feels like a real game to him. After the card battle was held again, Masato returned with a worried mood and was quickly discovered to be a zombie. The fact that Ikino questioned him made everyone extremely dissatisfied. Masato wanted to explain and plans to tell everyone. Ikino orders young Nobu to deal with the person who infected Masato. Arisu wanted to stand up and stop him, but Ikino asked if he had ever been infected. This statement seemed to make Arisu remember a part of the past. Because there was no other way, Nobu had to go to a card game with the infected person, and it seemed like he used the zombie card on him. As a result, he immediately used the shotgun card because he had received orders to deal with the infector. Seeing Nobu come back, Ikino happily asked everyone to applaud this young man. At this rate, the humans will be able to control all the zombies. However, in the next card match, Nobu ran away and did not return. The guy who turned Nobu into a zombie was also captured and defeated in a battle. Arisu didn't want the young man to be eliminated, so he hurriedly went to find him. People gradually assumed that Arisu was likely a zombie because he questioned the circle of belief. Now that they mention it, they don't see him anywhere. Maybe he is even a spy for the undead. People are gradually doubting whether there really is a vaccine card or not. To be sure, Ikino told his men to eliminate the zombies they found from the beginning to preserve the human population. Just like that, both old and new players with zombie cards were eliminated. Masato began to protest and run for his life. After running for a while, he discovered something. Masato hastily prayed for the vaccine card, but was also kicked to the ground. Ikino followed and believed that he was the mastermind of the zombie faction. He decided to have a card game with him to figure it out. Meanwhile, Arisu also found Nobu to play cards. As soon as he saw him, he knew that Nobu was a zombie without a shadow of a doubt. But right now, there's something more important. Arisu wanted to let Nobu know that the girl was still intact, and he was afraid she would play cards with Ikino. He told him there are more people with zombie cards in this building than you think. Think of it spreading from 4 people and then exponentially. The owner of the zombie card will quickly infect others after only the first few rounds. Ikino did not believe what he said. He thought she was definitely trying to lure him to her side, but she wasn't. Ikino still followed the human side and directly played a card, and the result was that Masato was also destined to be eliminated. Until Arisu and Nobu came running. The two realized the possibility that she was in danger because she had been targeted. The humans on Ikino's side must have taken care of a few traitors and zombies from the start. Until Ikino returned without a trace of concern on his face. He said he had been deceived. When Arisu ran to the girl, she remained unharmed and didn't understand why. Turns out she wasn't a zombie from the start. The fact that Ikino created a circle of trust for everyone to control everything was a lie in the first place, because from the beginning he didn't know which side he should be on. That's also the reason why Ikino used the shotgun card and she wasn't eliminated, because from the beginning humans cannot eliminate humans. What's more surprising is why Arisu played cards again this time and talked. The card is also turned face up, and it is detected that Arisu is the one who has owned the zombie card from the beginning until now. He wants to attract everyone to his side, because there will definitely be more people with the zombie card than on the human side. What's more important now is that Arisu must quickly find Usagi and Uncle Kyuza. The transformed people called him back and said they had sided with the zombies like Arisu said. Meanwhile, the other man did not know what was happening and persistently pursued Nobu because he is a zombie. It wasn't until he found Uncle Tetsu that the problem happened again. Suddenly, the sound for the final round of cards rang out again. Just when Arisu appeared, the two immediately played cards with the opponent they chose. When Uncle Tetsu saw the zombie card, he was extremely surprised. Neither did the other man, but Nobu said he had just saved him. He didn't believe it until he heard the results of the number of people and zombies present. The number of people with zombie cards is 32, and humans are 13. Ikino's followers realized that they were just like clowns. I shot him immediately. After the second game ends, Arisu felt like he was alone, so he
invited her to join. She's not inherently a bad person, so her joining doesn't have much of an impact on the team. Night comes when everyone rests. Only Arisu doesn't know if his wife on the other side is still alive or not, and his wife over here is participating in an extremely dangerous game with Professor Ryuji. Anyone who gets hit by a laser beam will know the result. Thinking that Professor Ryuji wouldn't be able to walk here unharmed, he still had to maneuver his wheelchair around very skillfully. Luckily, Arisu's wife Usagi saved him, and he was able to escape one level. Suddenly seeing a disabled person using a wheelchair and dodging tricks in this game, it looked so cool. In the end, only 4 people survived the laser grid game. The 2 surviving women also quickly realized that Usagi was the woman whose accident on the mountain was said to have been arranged. Usagi didn't care much. Professor Ryuji talked to her again about how Usagi must have missed her father and wanted to be with him. Unlike Usagi, Ryuji always wanted to come here to verify that this world exists. He wanted to prove that the hypotheses and definitions he previously researched with students are true. Actually, before coming here, the residents of this world came to see Ryuji. They told him that if he wants to know his answers and reach the land beyond the edge of death, the condition is to have Arisu's wife Usagi brought here. Then Professor Ryuji will get what he has long desired, and the other resident wants to take advantage of the couple's feelings. His ultimate goal is to transform Arisu into a resident of this place. He noticed Arisu playing games and wanted him to play more until the next game Usagi had to go through. This time, everyone will have to board a high-speed train. The rules of the game are very simple. That is, within a certain period of time, the player must pass through a train car. In 30 seconds, the door to the next car will be locked. The air pumped into the car will be either toxic gas or oxygen, and this continues through 8 cars. To prevent poisoning, the organizers have prepared for each person an anti-poison mask that can neutralize toxic gas and 5 gas tubes. You also cannot use someone else's air hose for your own use, and any carriage that has been passed through cannot be returned to. To know if the carriage is poisonous or not, each carriage will have a canary. Coming to the first carriage, everyone immediately put on their masks and waited for the moment the gas was pumped in. But unfortunately, this car was an oxygen pump car. Everyone just wasted a tube of gas, but luckily there were 4 tubes equivalent to the remaining 4 toxic gas cars. They went to the next car. This time, everyone continued to wear masks, and luckily this was a poison gas carriage. So there are only 3 cars with toxic gas and 3 safe cars left. Everyone decided to risk the 3rd car without masks. The result was oxygen, so everyone breathed lightly. But when the carriage door was opened, a man who loves trains stood up and said the train goes parallel to another line. Suddenly, everyone saw that the people in that other train's carriage had died because of poisonous gas. The scene made everyone extremely scared. They went to the 4th car. This time, Professor Ryuji deduced that each car would need a large air pump to fill the compartment. Then he asked the man who loves trains to consider which carriage would have a power transmitter. The man thought for a while and was sure that this car would be the one without a transmission machine. That's what allows the train to collect electricity to run on the wire. The conclusion was that this car was very likely to contain toxic gas. People were half believing and half suspecting, so some people didn't wear masks. But Usagi and Professor Ryuji decided to listen to the man who loved trains. So when air was pumped inside, some people started foaming at the mouth and had an allergic reaction that killed them on the spot. Now there are only 2 gas tubes and 2 cars with toxic gas left. The other man continued to instruct everyone that this carriage was a carriage with an electric transmission machine, so there would be no toxic gas. As air continued to be pumped, the result was exactly as the other man said, and everyone was safe in this round. Arriving at car number 6, the man suddenly said he had the wrong type of train. He didn't know the exact structure of this type of train. And in the previous 2 rounds, everyone's survival depended on luck. Now there are only 2 gas tubes and 3 train cars left. Everyone could only rely on their hunch, decided to use an oxygen tube and put on a mask. But unfortunately, this car was a safe car. The canary in the car did not die, making the situation more serious than ever. Everyone realized that the next 2 cars with toxic gas, and no one could reach the finish line. The whole group began to blame Usagi for simply following her. While everyone was in despair, the man who loved trains said there was still a way to live. Remember when I said the train was going parallel to you? That train will continue to come here, but 3 people there died in the 8th car. That is the only way of life for all of us at this time. 2 trains started arriving parallel to each other. People started jumping over and indeed survived, but some people weren't so lucky. The last person to muster up the courage was Ryuji. As soon as he swung over, the 2 trains separated.
Just like that, Usagi's group survived this time. Suddenly, another train arrived. Usagi was surprised to see the familiar figure of her husband looking for her. Arisu also looked over here. 4 eyes met, making Arisu extremely surprised. Just like that, the two stood at the door and wanted to reach for it, but a pillar was in the way. Then when the trains were about to collide, due to moving at high speed and not being able to keep stable, the train overturned. By the time everyone woke up, Arisu was in danger with extremely serious injuries. Currently, only that uncle could save Arisu. No one here knew how to sew a wound. The uncle shook his head and his hands were shaking because he was extremely scared. He immediately gulped down the wine he had just found. He knew it wasn't for detoxification, but drinking it helped give him courage. When he finished drinking, the uncle mustered up the courage to stitch up Arisu's wound. Usagi's team here was much safer, but Ryuji couldn't sleep. He just looked at Usagi. He was just remembering the past when he researched the topic of the afterlife. He had an excellent student who wanted to learn about it with him. Since then, the two people had been like shadows and had always researched this topic very closely together. Until one time, the student Iano wanted to directly verify her teacher's hypothesis. She suggested many times that she would be a participant in that world. Ryuji finally agreed with the girl and let her participate in that experimental project. As a result, a bulletin quickly appeared in the newspaper with the headline that a professor used euthanasia drugs on his student. But because there was no real evidence, Ryuji could not be arrested. Since then, he has always been obsessed with finding the other world, also to prove to his student that his hypothesis is correct. In the morning, Arisu regained consciousness after being given first aid by Uncle Tatsu. Even though he just woke up, Arisu didn't want to slow everyone down from participating in the new game. No one wanted to leave him behind after Arisu saved them all in the previous game. So in the evening at the place where the game begins, Usagi's group must climb Tokyo Tower and win the bingo game. Meanwhile, Arisu's group has to play a game that involves catching cans. The rule of the game is to find a can, then press it down at the designated distribution point to win the survival ticket. There are 10 cans in total, and inside the can is a salvation token. So everyone started to split up to search. Someone quickly discovered where a can had just fallen. Especially when picking up the can, the bomb timer would start counting down. Passing the can to someone else would reduce the time by 5 seconds. Uncle Kyuza picked up the can and then gave it to Aunt Sachiko because he was running out of time. It's normal for a can to suddenly appear and people to fight for it. But the first can quickly exploded just because it was not placed in the right place. So there are only 9 cans left and Arisu's team has 8 people. The next can was quickly found, and everyone continued to fight for it. The girl Shion in Arisu's team held the can and was immediately surrounded by everyone. Seeing Arisu calling her, she immediately threw the can down. Suddenly, someone kicked it away. Someone rushed to grab the can, and the can immediately exploded. It turns out that if you just hit it hard, the can will explode. On to the next can. This time, Arisu's team was lucky enough to get it to Aunt Sachiko. Someone got safely into the elevator. On Usagi's side, the situation was extremely tense as everyone climbing up was stopped by the sharp marbles above. Her friend Himari fell down because of that. Usagi tried to climb down to pull her friend up, but her limb slipped. Just like that, Himari was turned into pieces of meat. The game continued on both sides, and more people died. This time, it was the players' turn to get the can, so everyone on Arisu's team tried to hold off the other players. They just successfully helped her get into the elevator safely. Next is Uncle Tetsu, then Nobu. In the end, there were only a few people left in Arisu's group. There were 2 people who just passed the can back and forth just to win the can. As a result, the time was reduced so much that it was only a few seconds. That thing blew away the 2 people fighting each other. Only the last 2 cans were left. When Uncle Q came out and got the can, he gave it to Arisu just because he was injured. As for himself, he stopped that group of people no matter how much he was beaten. Thanks to his uncle's strength, Arisu also successfully survived. Don't worry, because at least there's one last can left. I'm confident that I can deal with this remaining trash. Until the last bomb can was triggered. Uncle Q alone fought all those thugs. Because there were too many people, the uncle was thrown to the ground and punched. Someone even picked up broken glass and stabbed his uncle. From then on, he won the can, but that also completely made his uncle crazy. His shirt was ripped open to reveal the gangster tattoo his uncle had hidden for so long. He beat up each guy, but some of them played dirty. If you want to die, then this man will serve you until the end. Just like that, the uncle hugged everyone back to the bomb and smiled confidently. The bomb exploded, blowing away the remaining players. On Usagi's side, the sky
was also bright. She successfully pressed the bingo button at the top of the tower, helping everyone overcome this extremely dangerous challenge. Coming up is the final game. Professor Ryuji came to the world's inhabitants asking if they were satisfied. The fact that they are interested in Arisu is extremely difficult for Ryuji to understand. But Ryuji's job, according to the agreement, is to deal with Usagi. Only after the work is done can he know the answer about this world itself, who is behind it, and discover the true realm of death beyond this place. Coming to the final game, the unexpected scene around Arisu and everyone made them extremely surprised. The hot road takes people back to places where humans live. All around were buildings and pedestrians walking around as if this was the real world. But those are just scenes replayed by countless LED screens. Each person in Arisu's group from the real world was recorded extremely accurately, until Arisu walked into a room where a scene of Arisu's house was shown. He walked in curiously and saw a vision of himself holding a happy child with his wife Usagi. What was more surprising then was the real Usagi standing in front of him. The two were extremely happy and hugged each other.
I finally found you. Seeing the happy scenario on the screen was surreal. But when she saw Ryuji, Arisu went crazy just because he was the one who brought her back to this world. Seeing his wife stand up to defend that professor, Arisu wanted to punch him. But what was more important was that everyone now noticed there are 10 players. Looking back and forth, there are only 9. Arisu just realized that his wife is pregnant and that the vision just now is the couple's future. However, having a baby in this situation is extremely dangerous. The rules of the game were quickly announced. Each person will have to wear a bracelet and a necklace on the table. The game is called Futuristic Chess. A total of 25 rooms correspond to a grid. Each room will roll a dice. The number rolled dictates how many people can move corresponding to the color. If the number of people wanting to move is greater than the room's number, the remaining person will have to move to another room or stay in the room if the points are not enough. To free those who remained locked up, everyone will have to connect into a row of 3 rooms to let the remaining person escape. Each move will deduct at least 1 point from the bracelet. Once you leave a room, you cannot return immediately. If you haven't been liberated and your points are gone, that player will be eliminated. Not to mention, on every wall of the room people go to, their chosen future will be displayed. It's the real future when everyone gets out of here. This is the key point of psychological manipulation for everyone in this game. Arisu started to get acquainted with everyone new here. Then, together with everyone, they united and strove to find a way out. The old man threw out the 2 biggest numbers, 5 and 7. According to the rules of the game, each time you pass through a room, you need 1 point to open the door. Because they needed to save points as much as possible, everyone decided to divide into 2 teams and choose groups of 5 people or 7 people. Correspondingly, the screen shows the future that people want. For the first room, a -1 point is displayed on the screen, making everyone realize that each room here will randomly deduct points, so you have to be quite careful in following the team. On the next dice toss, the uncle rolled 1, 3, and 5. There it is shown that the uncle becomes an architect in the future. His friend Nobo also became successful, and everyone started planning. The red door is a good future for Usagi and Arisu, and the green door is a good future for the remaining people. The special thing is that the futures displayed on the screen can know what people really want in their minds, like Professor Ryuji wanting to get the grant money to research this world. According to the original division plan, everyone will gather in room D2. On the side of the Soda brothers, they got the number 2 for the 2 doors to the gathering area. They quickly split up and regrouped at D2 with Arisu and Usagi. Every time everyone splits, they will go in pairs to find a way out of this game. But when Arisu's turn came again, he rolled 1, 1, and 2. Including the child in Usagi's belly, there are 4 people. There must be 1 person staying here. He didn't think much, so he chose to stay, leaving Usagi and the others to continue looking for a way out at point E1. In the current situation, if it is determined that there is no way out at that endpoint, everyone will have to stay in the room until the Soda brothers return to D3 to unlock a row here. Arisu told everyone to cooperate and stay together. Thus, the escape rate will be the largest. Every future crime on Nobu's wall makes him extremely worried. If you follow the instructions, you will become a drug dealer who is scammed by multi-level mobs. But the threat of staying in room D3 for too long caused that room to start emitting scary futures, maybe even the difficulty she encountered. Everything should be under control, but Nobo is extremely afraid of the future when he returns to reunite with everyone. He immediately split up with Uncle Tatsu, and the 2 of them went to their own places. Unexpectedly, room A1 Nobo was headed to would have 6 points deducted, causing his score to drastically drop. Because everyone has been divided quite far, the only way for Arisu to escape from the nightmares encountered in room D2 was to go to room D3 herself. Now the remaining 3 people each have a room. Uncle Tatsu fell into room B2, -4 points, leaving him with 8. While struggling with addiction, the uncle suddenly saw a fantasy scene of him and his wife lying on the beach. He intended to use drugs even though he tried to control himself. Finally, the silhouette of his lover appeared on the screen, inviting him to room A3. He would just follow people everywhere, costing up to 8 points. Just like that, the game ended for him, and Mr. Tatsu immediately died for the sake of his future high. The screen showed him being arrested for using drugs. His family broke up because of his addiction. Meanwhile, Nobu also deeply regretted that he separated himself because he was too weak. He decided that this time, no matter how bad the future on the wall was, he had to go back to find Uncle Tatsu. After turning to B1, he reported his location to everyone. Because there are no exits on the A1 and E1 sides, people can only gradually move down to A5 or E5 to find the exit. Ryuji's mission is to destroy Usagi. He was able to explore this world only during a few trips together. The Soda brothers always took the older brother's points to move, resulting in the older brother only having 4 points in his hand. According to the plan, everyone will gather at B4 to save the brother because the brother was almost out of points. How could they prevent it when their luck fell so poorly? The room on the B4 side where he gathered with his brother cost 0 points to enter. So as soon as Arisu arrived, he found out that his brother had nearly run out of points. The situation changed when he came here. His brother only had 2 points left, and the room's cost was 2, so for Soda, the game was over. Before his life ended, a scene at his sister's wedding appeared extremely majestic. At least before he died, he could witness his sister get married and be happy in the future, although he wanted to see her happy in person, but he could only tell his sister to live well. Previously, Yuna and her brother had passed through E5, so the only possible exit is in room A5. If as planned, everyone will go to B4 and B5 and then proceed to A5. The psychological instability of younger sister Yuna is too great. It was even more unlucky when Usagi's room collapsed. The total number in each room is not enough to force a person to stay in the room. As a result, because of Yuna, someone will now have to enter room A3, where Tatsu lost contact and which will likely deduct a lot of points. At that moment, the scene of Professor Ryuji using a gun to shoot Usagi in the head appeared on the wall in front of Arisu. His wife died before reaching the exit. Despite seeing that future, Arisu decided to calm down and advised everyone to cooperate to reach the exit. Because Arisu's room didn't move, it was also locked. Because there are 2 locked rooms, Nobu can't reach the destination no matter how he moves because he doesn't have enough points. Everyone has no choice but to unlock Sachiko first and then ask Usagi to unlock room B4 for Arisu and the others. However, no one has ever been to room A2, and they don't know how many points it will deduct. Now, if you make just one mistake, you won't be able to save Mrs. Sachiko, and the whole group will die because the point cost for passing through A5 is extremely large. Usagi encouraged her husband that everything would surely be resolved. He remembered the old years when everyone died and looked at the bracelet on his arm. That bracelet is still counted as one person, so if his wife doesn't go to A2, she could return to A3 and get 8 points deducted. He suggested taking the bracelet representing their unborn child, then get it back later, because when the mechanism blocks the door, Yuna and Arisu are called to the next room. The door stopped for about 10 seconds because someone blocked it. Usagi's round will also not be deducted many points as long as her turn remains at A3 and only deducts 1 point for staying in the room. So, Arisu mustered up the courage to advise Sota's sister. Without you, everyone here would be lost. Yuna regained her composure and everyone began to carry out their plan. When Usagi passed her child's bracelet to the other side, Mrs. Sachiko's room B3 was successfully unlocked, but that room also deducted 5 points. If you want to go back to room A3 and get to A5 the fastest, you definitely need Yuna's points because she still has 11 points. The group's time to get the bracelet of the child in Usagi's belly is 10 seconds. If you don't get it in time, the child will definitely be considered disqualified. People no longer care about the future on the screen. Instead, they start trying to cooperate so Usagi gets her child's bracelet. In that moment, Usagi saw a vision of her husband being shot dead in the future. She took a moment to think back and remember the moment her father also left because of her. Luckily, Ryuji used his wheelchair to block the door, helping Arisu run over and drag his wife from death's door towards room A4. Right now, room A5 is the only way out. Arisu didn't think the professor would use himself to save the two of them. The future on the wall to room A5 gradually appears.
With countless bad things. No one pays attention to that nonsense anymore because it's just a psychological ploy created by the organizers. Everyone continues to the room with the exit. Each bracelet was removed as if the burden had finally disappeared. In the end, everyone still has to roll the dice one last time to decide how many people will be able to go through that door of liberation. Arisu stands out as the one to roll the dice. Let fate decide your fate, and I will bear all the consequences. After rolling the number 7, there were 8 people in the room. This means that one person will have to stay. Arisu took a deep breath, turned to his wife, and told her that she would take care of the rest in the future. Hearing that, Usagi did not agree with her husband. The future she saw earlier had come true. With not much time left for everyone to escape, Arisu had no choice but to trust the professor, even though he saw him shoot his wife in a future vision. When the door closes, everyone will escape. Seeing his wife fall apart, Arisu is very heartbroken. But the professor, because of his desire to explore this world, picked up a gun as if wanting to end Usagi's life. What Arisu was worried about had almost come true. Fortunately, the professor thought about it and didn't shoot her. But what was even more surprising was that only the person staying in room A5 was the real survivor, and those outside would encounter extremely fierce earthquakes and tsunamis. Arisu was helpless inside and could only break the screen. And the resident of this place also appeared, calling for Arisu to join them. He wants him to happily play the game here and become a citizen like him. The fact that he used Usagi to get Arisu to participate in the game is something he deeply hates. As well as destroying the wall with the LED light, Arisu discovered that there was a switch inside the wall that could be opened to save everyone inside. He used all his strength to gradually open the door. Outside, the tsunami was extremely large, and each person was pulled back inside the room. Seeing his wife in danger, Arisu didn't think much and immediately jumped into the flood to chase his wife. Time in the real world is almost over 2 minutes. The other resident appeared behind Arisu, waiting to take him back to that world. Rizuna saw that guy and immediately ran to stop him, but he reappeared on Arisu's side. Just because he did not intend to become a citizen in this place, he began to feel disappointed. Without intending to say goodbye, Arisu was immediately executed. The Joker has appeared. Everything around seemed to stop moving. The man didn't answer and just wanted Arisu to play one last game with him. As long as Arisu can draw the Joker, he wins. Arisu's fate will be in his hands. He saw 2 cards on the table. Arisu didn't think much and opened both cards. Because he knew full well that there were 2 cards on the table, the Joker just explained to Arisu about its meaning. Regarding this world, it is not what determines everything, as well as being the ruler or manager of the games that Arisu has to go through. It is simply a card, Arisu said. However, the law is the law. Arisu's fate is in his hands, and he shows him where the dead exist. One is to die now, the other is to die in a few decades. Normally when we die, we will return to this world. But Arisu doesn't want to go back alone, no matter what the man in front of him said. Without a wife and children to live with, everything is meaningless. The man laughed out loud.
He said he's just a watchman in this place. He just felt like something even more intense was about to happen. But that's not Arisu's story. What he cares about now is whether he can save his wife or not. When he had to make a choice, he did not hesitate to jump directly into the whirlpool. This made the gatekeeper feel like he is an interesting person. Before the black whirlpool of hell, Professor Ryuji had captured Usagi and wanted to take her to the black hole of death. But seeing Arisu wanting to swim to save his wife, he remembered Arisu's promise to take Usagi to safety, so he decided not to kill her anymore. Instead of exploring this world for his own purpose, he probably felt sorry for his former student. He didn't want to make a mistake. When Usagi and her husband began to climb up to escape the vortex, appearing before Usagi was the sight of her father standing there calling her name. Just like that, Usagi ran to hug her father because she missed him very much. But life is about moving on. Arisu and his wife tried their best and finally climbed up and swam towards the light at the end of the road. And then Arisu also woke up. Rizuna was also somewhat less worried because if he were just a few seconds late, he would have lost his life. Arisu immediately wanted to leave but didn't forget to thank Rizuna. Then he ran to the hospital to see how his wife was doing. Luckily, she is still alive. Besides, she still felt a little hungry. But unlike Usagi, next to her was Professor Ryuji's body, which had long since cooled down. It's possible that when he previously discovered the afterlife, his student couldn't pass the test, so he didn't survive. Time gradually passed. The couple, Arisu, began to think of a name for the child in Usagi's womb. The other survivors from that world have also returned to their daily lives as usual. Dreams are determined by us, not by whatever future happens. Since this incident, Arisu has become a doctor for people with depression, helping people overcome the burdens in life. But what the gatekeeper felt was gradually happening in the real world. Arisu also felt like there was an earthquake. The government has also reported that there have been many earthquakes around the world recently, not just Japan, but everywhere on this earth. Is this the beginning of the end of the world due to the gatekeeper's worry? For now, the season 3 of the series ends here. Thank you for watching the video. Do not forget to like and comment, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to receive the latest videos soon. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos.